All right, it looks like we are ready to go.
Yep, you are live now.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Well, thanks everybody for coming to this virtual meeting. This is our first, and it may not be our last, but it's been a long time, so it's great to see all you guys, and yeah, things have been carrying on, and so we have a long agenda tonight. So let's jump right into it, and otherwise it might be pretty late. We'll be as long as council, and we really don't want that. All right, so the first item on our agenda is doors open and culture days. So who wants to take that one on? I know Kathy raised it, that we've got doors open happening. There was some discussion about doing a video with the BIA in the downtown. So what do we want to do?
So what I can do is, first of all, we got notification from Tourism Simcoe County that basically said, as far as they were concerned, they were canceling doors open for this year, but that the Ontario Heritage Trust had some funding from Destination Ontario, and we're going to put together a virtual website and are looking for content. So it's a way that people can still sort of provide content, and it can be via pictures or video. There is no cost to individuals, organizations, the BIA to do it, except for the content itself. So if an organization or an individual wanted to create a video and there was a cost associated, that cost would be back to the business or individual. So what I did do was I reached out to the BIA and just sent them the information that that was sent to us, outlining what they could do. And I've asked the BIA to send it out to their membership and see if there's anybody interested in doing that. I haven't heard back at this point. I think, though, if I'm not mistaken, Deb, the BIA, Barrie Historical Archive, will be participating, or is that incorrect?
So as soon, we notified them, I guess a couple of months ago.
Right.
We had designed.
Yeah, it's hard to hear you.
Okay, I'll put my headset on in a sec then. Okay. We designed a new walking tour for this year. We're still going to do a walking tour. We'll just record it and upload it to their website, our website, and just share it that way. So we're going to do what we always were going to do. It just won't be an in-person tour.
Okay.
Are you doing the walking tour in the downtown area?
We are.
You are.
The whole new topic this year. I don't want to give it away just yet, but it will be something new. New and exciting. And because it's virtual, we can also integrate resources that aren't physically there as well.
And are you connecting with the BIA at all?
No, we're doing this on our own.
And the second part of this is I do have a list, which I forwarded to Thomas, of all of the people that did participate last year, as well as a few that wanted to participate but weren't ready. So the new Barrie Emergency Services Facility had said last year that they weren't ready, but they wanted to participate in it. And Paul Lynch from downtown, I think he's a developer, or he owns some of the older properties and older buildings. He was also interested, but sort of came in late to the game. Now, I haven't reached out to them individually at this point. What I wanted to talk about is whether we can do anything in a bigger way to reach out to not just the downtown people, but anyone in Barrie that might be interested in participating in this way, because I think there's a lot of creative people out there that might be interested. So whether it just means, could we put something out on the website, just asking if people are interested in participating, and if so, please reach out to Tourism Simcoe County and give them the information, or how we can reach out to more people, because I know there are people that would be interested in, and this is the perfect time. So many people are doing virtual everything now, that it's a great way. People can do, tours of their home if they wanted to, if it's a beautiful old home and they wanted to show what the inside of the home looked like. I mean, there's lots of different things that could be done.
All right. Any other comments on that?
And that's sort of as far as I've gotten with it.
I'm just wondering, Kathy, if it's worthwhile for you to send an email to each of the persons on that list of yours and see if we get anybody that responds and is interested in doing their own video and sending it to Doors Open.
And and we can do that, but can we do something much larger than that, by way of whether it's the print ad in the Barrie Advance that in This Week in Barrie, we can put it into This Week in Barrie, or if there's another way to incorporate it on the banner of the City of Barrie website, like they do for other cultural events, just looking for participants and see if anybody's interested. So we can do both, or I can just simply send out to the 8 or 10 people that I do have on the email list currently. But I know there's more people interested. I just don't have contact information for them.
Thomas, is that something we could do on the city's website, is to invite some bigger numbers?
Yeah, sorry, my mic was not turning on there. I remember last year when we were looking at this, our communications department were hesitant to do any publication for an event that was hosted by the County of Simcoe or by an outside organization. I suspect that might be the case with the Ontario Heritage Trust / Doors Open, that we're promoting other events on behalf of other organizations. So I think if we wanted to make this work, to do what Kathy is describing, the City of Barrie would have to be, as a corporation, a participant, and we would have a web page and things like that. And then we would be essentially the host, and we would be spreading that information out to our residents, to our businesses and partners that way. So that's just something we'd have to work out with communications to make that work.
No, I think there was also a memo which I sent a copy to you, that Ms. Schlichter was working on some stuff for,
Yes.
and I can't remember. And in that, down toward the bottom, I think they did mention Doors Open.
Yes, so the memo that you had sent me was about the
Pedestrianization of Dunlop.
pedestrianization of Dunlop Street, and that's an initiative that they're working hard on to get more people downtown and take advantage of our wonderfully redeveloped Dunlop Street in our downtown. And I think you and I had exchanged emails with Miss Latt, who is the business development officer who works with Stephanie Schlichter about this. And we had also talked about that tour for with Steve Travers. So we're working in the background to see what we can make happen. I think I'm not entirely sure what direction the Invest Barrie team or former Invest Barrie team is going in that regard. So I'm just waiting to hear back. But in terms of Heritage Barrie promoting the event, we would have to, formally become partners in that sense. And we could work with Stephanie's team to promote the event as well.
Which would be a great thing to do. Sorry, are we supposed to be putting up our hands and so on?
Yes.
Okay.
The same format, yeah.
Oh, we need the request to speak sign.
I know, right?
Oh, there we
from
go.
From the council. Sorry,
We'll have to, yeah, right. We'll have to,
It's a work in
pick up
progress.
your hand and offer to speak.
Right.
I guess I don't think the City of Barrie is going to sort of initiate being a part of the open doors or taking the lead on that. So I'm just trying to wrap this one up a little bit in terms of direction. And I'm thinking, Kathy, perhaps you could email the people that are on your list and see what transpires as a result of that. And if Thomas can just follow up with our communications people and just see where that might go. And Kathy, if you wouldn't mind following up with the BIA, because I think there's some potential there, and that would be kind of neat if we could connect the BIA to this this initiative. All right. Any more discussion, Kathy?
And I had previously on a separate call spoken directly with Kelly McKenna of the BIA as well, to mention that this was something that was coming. And she did sound like, you know, they are interested in working along with Heritage Barrie on whatever initiatives we might have going on. And that I sort of invited her in advance to potentially a meeting sometime down the road with our group, just to talk about how we might have those synergies.
Yes, and I recall there was some discussion that we might get the town crier involved, and that Thomas would be our cameraman. So just no end of talent all the way around. So Sarah. Kaylee, if you want to raise your hand, I won't be able to see it because you're not in. Your picture isn't here, so just make sure you unmute yourself and say something. All right, Sarah, go ahead.
I was just wondering if we could get, you talked about going through some of the historic houses, the winners of previous Heritage Barrie awards with the really beautiful interiors that we never get to see because we just get to see a picture of their outside of their house. Is there a way to contact them and see if they'd be willing and do a little walkthrough of their house and we can put it in with the doors open?
Good idea.
I think that's a great suggestion. Is that something we can follow up with, Thomas?
Yeah, that's something I can do. I can send an email to the Heritage Award recipients and let them know that the program is happening and how they can go on and actually register and whatnot.
Okay. All right. Any more discussion on that topic? I think we've covered it. All right. The 2020 County of Simcoe Tourism, Culture and Sports Grant. Do you have an update for us on that, Thomas?
Yes, I do. I received an email from the county advising me that the grant has been canceled for this year, and they thank us for participating, but due to the COVID situation and financial difficulties being a reality, they've canceled the award for this year.
All right. Any discussion on that? I think that's dead. All right. So we'll go again at it next year if it's open. All right. The 2020 Heritage Barrie Awards. Thomas, are we opening up that at this point, or where are we with that?
That's right. So I will be posting the nominations on our webpage, I think September 1st we're aiming for, and we're going to have it open for 30 days. So all of September. And then I'm hoping that at our October meeting, we'll be able to go through the nominations and pick our award recipients then.
Great.
Okay. Deb.
Would you like us to provide some potential candidates like we have in the past?
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to nominate a property owner or a person or a group, you can certainly do that. We just always ask that you get consent from them before you do so. We always follow up with Heritage Award winners to confirm that they are looking to receive that nomination and accept the award as well. So no problem with that.
Yes, and the whole award ceremony and all of that will have to be probably virtual as well. So we're going to be breaking some new ground there. Any further discussion on that, Craig?
Yeah, Thomas, the past winners in the past, we had pictures, photographs of the properties and the winners. Are we gonna get that back on the site, or is it not, or are we not able to?
Do you mean like, are we going to go out there and actually take pictures for the actual Heritage Awards?
No, the past winners, we used to have a photograph of the properties and the winners, but right now it just has the address. The pictures are gone. Is that pictures going to be put back in or no?
On the
Sorry,
website.
Craig. Are you talking about on our website right now?
Yeah, on the website, yes.
I think so. Yeah, we should be able to do that. It's probably just something that's hasn't been done. But you're sort of touching up on a point that we're going to be talking about several points down for the Municipal Heritage Register. So I can give a more fulsome update then.
Sure. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Christine, did you want to say something?
No, I thought he was talking about the website.
Okay. Okay. All right. Anything else on the Heritage Awards? All right. We'll we'll advertise that and we'll deal with that in October when we come to that meeting. All right. The Ferrier Family History Book. Thomas, I think that's yours.
Correct, that's me again. It's just a quick update to the committee. If the committee can recall that a little while back, we were contacted by Anna, who had, I guess, self-published a book about the history of her family, and she offered that book to us for purchase. Since then, she's actually offered to give the book to us. So I am expecting to receive a hard copy of the book sometime in the future. I haven't actually heard back from her since she emailed me last to let me know that she can give us a copy. So maybe they're just waiting on publications, but that will be another item to add to our, I guess, heritage library that we have in the city department.
All right, and certainly when we, excuse me, certainly when we receive that, we should certainly send them a very heartfelt thank you for it. All right, anything further on that one? Okay, development applications. And that's you, Thomas.
That's right, yes, sorry for doing all the talking this evening.
Quite all right.
So there is actually two items that I'd like to discuss with the committee. First being 70 High Street. If the committee can recall, we're just doing a correction to the designating bylaw. The designated bylaw actually had been an error extended to a property that was created out of the existing property. We're not entirely sure how that happened, but it's now been applied to a property where it shouldn't be applied. So we're lifting that bylaw. The notice had been posted back in July 15th. So the 30-day appeal window actually closed 2 days ago. So I'm going to be checking in with the clerk on the 21st to see if there's been any appeals to that repeal of the designated bylaw. And then we're not actually going to lift it just yet. We've got the notice out, so we met the statutory requirements. So what we're going to do now is we're going to post a notice of designation to say that we are going to be designating 70 High Street to correct a bylaw. And once that 30-day appeal window expires, we're going to, in one council motion, lift the designating bylaw, and then in the same council motion, apply the new designating bylaw. So there's no loss of protection or no loss of recognition for that property. And that would be all on that item. So does anybody have any questions?
Okay, any discussion on that, Kathy?
I just, and the homeowner of, it's Maplehurst House, isn't it? Called Maplehurst or something? So
That's
the existing property owner is in agreement. So they understand that the designation comes off and that it goes back on?
I've received no objections from the property owner.
Okay, good.
And it was actually at the property owner's request, I believe, to straighten it out.
It was actually the property that's been incorrectly designated. They brought it up to our attention, and they've been speaking with the property owner of Maplehurst to let them know what's going on, but they've also been advised.
Okay, any further discussion on that one? Okay, thank you. Oh, you said you had 2 items, Thomas, under that.
That's right. Yeah. So the other thing that had come up since we had published the agenda was actually a consent application at 271 Codrington. The file is B20/21 on our City Committee of Adjustment webpage, if anybody wants to look it up. It's so basically what's happening is there's a home that's currently on Codrington that has a large backyard, and there's a consent application to sever a portion of that backyard to create a new lot. And then there's going to be a construction on that new lot. And I think the existing home will also be demolished and a new home will be built on the existing lot, or what we call the retained lot. And so the reason why it's on the committee's agenda today is not for 271 Codrington itself, but rather a property that's across the street, which is a designated property. I think it's 261 Codrington. I'm actually lost my map viewer. So just give me 2 seconds. I'll find the actual address.
Even number.
That's right. It would be an even number. So yeah, so I lost my page here. Just 1 second, sorry. There it is. It's actually 268 Codrington. That's the designated property. So they're essentially across the street. So they're not adjacent to the designated property. They're across the street. So I've been in discussions with the planner on file regarding the application of the City of Barrie cultural heritage protection policies. And really, this is an opportunity for the committee to discuss this, to ask me any questions, and provide me with any comments. And I would pass those comments and that feedback on to the planner. Committee doesn't need to pass a motion or anything like that. This is just a check-in with planning staff, and then I would basically echo those comments to the planner on file.
Maybe it would be helpful to, if you know, do you know why 268 Codrington is designated?
I do. It's just it's a historic property, and I'm going to open my municipal heritage register right now. 268. It's called the Grub House or the Grub House.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I know that is.
So it's got.
That,
I'm looking at it and I'm going, on again.
That's right. So it is
on our walking tour. On the
That's right.
Heritage Barrie walking tour.
Yeah, so it looks like it was designated in 2002. It was built by Captain William Grub in 1851. So it's one of the older houses in Barrie, I believe. So it's associated with him, and he was, and I guess he was a founding member of the community, and he has strong ties to the community as well. He was born in England, entered into service in the East India Company in his teenage years. He was also a landscape painter, and he did a lot of watercolor paintings of the Barrie panorama exactly from his house, because when his house was built, the area was empty. There was no houses across the street, so he had a view of the lake looking south. And there's actually, I have not been inside the home. I don't know exactly what it looks like. Our pictures on the Heritage Register are actually more so of the, looks like a garden, a very large garden they have in the front yard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess it has more cultural heritage value from an associative perspective, not having seen the actual inside of the house or its architectural form or built form or anything like that.
Okay, any comments or advice that we want to give planning? Yeah. Oh, Sarah?
Sorry, did I miss what they're gonna do with the property they're gonna demolish? Do you know what they're gonna put up?
Just from my looking at the committee application, it's existing. We have a house there. It's an older, really, it's I think more than anything a kind of a wartime kind of bungalow.
Correct.
Maybe it's a story and a half actually. The intention is to knock it down and to subdivide the lot into 3 lots. The 3 lots would all have frontage. They'd be orientated to Lakeview Crescent. And so the access would no longer be from Codrington, but it would be from Lakeview. It's a corner lot.
Okay, so there's no intention right now to build anything that's necessarily taller than the surrounding area? Because that would be like if your shadow is all of a sudden going to be, on the garden or the house, that's a heritage issue.
My expectation is just from looking at the drawings that they would be, a 2-story house built there. Kathy?
Do we know, is the zoning RM1? Thomas, do you know what the zoning is on that property currently?
Look for you right now.
I don't have the zoning in front of me, but the zoning is for single family. And I think there's a minimum frontage requirement on the zoning bylaw of 50 feet or 15 meters. And they're asking for a reduction to 12 meters. I think that's the plan. Thomas, maybe you can help us with that.
I think you're right on, Councillor, and I was just gonna answer Kathy's question. It's actually zoned R2.
Okay.
And what?
Kathy?
And what does that mean then? What could potentially be built there under RM2 in terms of height and size?
Just to be clear, it's R2.
R2. Okay, yeah. R2.
Yeah, that's correct. So R2.
Okay. So
I'll look at the standards for you right now.
Yeah, single family is what it is, 2-story, and the minimum frontage requirement under R2 is 15 meters.
That's correct.
They're asking for a variance to go down to 12 meters.
In terms of height, Kathy, max building height is 10 meters. That's for almost every zone in the city until you get to the higher density zones, the RM2 that you're referencing. So this one is 10 meters.
So,
Kathy?
So 10 meters is potentially sort of this slot, like a 2.5 story house, would you say? I'm thinking of like Craig and I both live in homes that are the older homes that are probably 10 meters in height or very close to, and they are 2 full stories plus a peaked roof or a pitched roof. So is like what's there now? You said 1.5 story?
What's there right now is actually a single story.
Single, so like a bungalow?
Yes, it's a bungalow.
Okay.
So yeah, so they could have a 2-story, a full height 2-story plus a roof. And height is measured actually between the eaves and the peak or the top ridge. So it's not the top of the building. The highest point is actually the mean in between.
Right, okay.
I was just gonna say, I know that house that by driving by, and it's really set back too. So like the shadowing, I mean, it's got a garden there for sure, but the house is actually quite far back in that lot. That's just what I remember.
That's correct.
I mean, you've got, it's on the other side of Codrington too. So I certainly don't think that 2-story on these 2 or these 3 lots would have any impact on shadow wise on the designated house. I think oh yeah, Sarah.
So this one's designated, not listed?
Correct.
It's designated.
Okay, so should we have a look at the designating bylaw? Because if the garden is specifically mentioned in the bylaw, then it would become just as important as the structure itself in terms of how it's impacted by other things. So, you know, like if it's going to be built closer to the road, is that going to change the overall look of the neighborhood as well? Things like that.
We can certainly do that. Yeah.
All right.
Not that we haven't done it, but your comment is noted.
Okay, Kathy.
I'm just wondering, so at this point, the reason why you're looking at it, and I'm just want to recap to make sure I understand. So what they're doing at 271 Codrington is they're going to sever it into 3 properties, did you say, or 2?
3.
So 3. And then is there an actual request at this point to build 3 separate homes? And do we know what they look like? Or
Not at this time. So we would only be looking at the permission to create the lots.
right, okay, so
We wouldn't be looking at the building permit elevations.
The difficulty is that this committee, I don't think would have the opportunity to review the actual building designs that they're proposing. You know, we can comment on the development in terms of creating 3 lots out of 1. But in this case, I don't think we would be looking at the architectural design when it comes in. Okay, Kathy?
as far as that neighborhood, there are other homes surrounding that are also in the walking tour guide as well. So 310 Codrington, which isn't very far from, I guess, 268. It's got to be on the same side, is also a beautiful home that's not listed or designated at this point. But I'm just wondering, I'm not really familiar with that neighborhood. How many other homes are sort of significant in terms of the age of the home?
Collingwood Street.
Thomas, do you want to answer that, or I can answer it to some degree? I live in that area. Lakeview and Codrington, at least at that end of Codrington, there are a number of homes that are sort of the same vintage and bungalows or stories and half. They look to me like, you know, they might have been done through the wartime after the war. Also in that area, we see a fair bit of upgrading of the homes. Sometimes they're knocked right down and a new home built, or they're renovated and a second story is added or whatever. It is an area where I think we can expect to see a certain amount of redevelopment happening. Because
or infill?
For the most part, older, or, you know, 1950s, late 1940s bungalows and story and a halves that have probably outlived their useful life.
Thank you.
All right. Any further? Oh, Kathy?
Sorry. So when does this go to Committee of Adjustment, Thomas, or when do we need to have comments back by?
Ideally, we would have those comments into me today. So any comments that you have right now would be ideal. Really, comments can be submitted up until the day of the meeting. However, to keep my colleagues happy, I try to get comments into them as soon as possible.
Right.
And there's just one thing I want to mention, Kathy. You had mentioned about looking at other properties and impacts on other properties.
Mm-hmm.
If we go a little bit beyond, you know, the effects on the designated property and look at other houses, we're going beyond the scope of what the committee is going to be looking at.
Right. Okay.
So I just wanted to caution that.
Yeah, I think as well. 310 Condrington is a ways down the street as well, so I don't think it would be affected by this in any way.
Oh.
Thomas, do you have enough to go on here?
I do. Thank you very much to the committee.
Okay. All right. Let's then move on to the next item on our agenda, a discussion about the Victoria home located at 159 Owen Street. Thomas.
Yes, that's me again.
Yes.
So the agenda item is actually pertaining to a letter or an email that was sent by the owner, Timothy Pella, of 159 Owen Street. And did the committee receive that copy of that email?
I didn't.
I didn't.
Okay. I thought that was circulated, so my apologies for that. Essentially, so what I can do, we can either defer this item to the next committee meeting, or I can give the committee a bit of an update, and then I could share the material with the committee, and the committee can provide me with some direction if needed via email. So I leave that to the chair, I guess.
Sure. Why don't you just give us the high level of this matter, and then we can talk about it.
Okay. So the owner had actually, this house was for sale for quite a while, and this owner purchased a home in 2019. Clearly, the owner is very passionate about the home that he bought, very passionate about heritage preservation. In his email or in his letter, he actually references the HNS document, but protecting heritage neighborhoods, and how that was a document that had largely convinced him of buying this property. And over the last year and a half or so, there's been a lot of committee adjustment applications in the area where larger lots that are quite wide have been subdivided into either townhomes or semi-detached or walk-up apartments. A lot of the zoning in that area is that RM2 that Kathy was asking me about. So that you see a lot of this infill development happening. Either things are being torn down, or the side yard of a property will be severed and then something will be built in its place. And essentially, this property owner is upset with those committee decisions. And he was looking to start a business on his property, and now he's convinced that because of these developments, he's not able to do that anymore. And there's a degradation of the general street, like Owen Street. He's not speaking to his property specifically like he is, but he's also concerned about just the loss of heritage on the street. So that's basically the summary of his email. And in his question, in his letter, he asked the question of I mean, it's a bit of a rhetorical question in terms of, is heritage worth protecting, and then whose business is the committee looking to protect? So I encourage each committee member to take a read of that letter, and I will provide that by email, and provide me some responses. And I think we're obligated to get back to this resident with some sort of letter or email or something like that, and perhaps it could be either the chair or myself.
All right. Any discussion of this item? Sarah?
This might be a good spot to put in our discussion, I guess, about heritage districts, and maybe we could put that onto a future agenda item with this sort of in mind, because there is a good way to create heritage districts that are protected within cities that allow people to do some upgraded buildings and things like that, but also protects the other stuff. So that might be something that he would be interested in knowing, and maybe something that we would entertain in the future.
I would agree.
Hmm?
The neighborhood where that home is located, there's several, I mean, more than several historic and possibly designated buildings. To me, it's a perfect neighborhood to try and protect, the same way we might protect a section of Dunlop Street, say between Clapperton and Mulcaster. So at least have a couple of real, true designated heritage areas in the city. And that would be a prime neighborhood for sure. If you need a list of buildings. And I have actually, in full disclosure, been in touch with that homeowner. He was looking for some history of the house, which I have, so.
All right, Christine, I think I saw your hand next. Christine, I think you're still on. Oh, there you go.
Sorry. If, is there any chance if the house was listed that there might be a certain amount of protection in the neighborhood? I mean, or not necessarily designated, but if we had a few of the homes listed on the heritage register, would that not help the neighborhood?
Well, yeah, okay, Thomas?
I was going to say that potentially, as of right now, there isn't any in that area. If there is something, a mapped cultural heritage resource adjacent to a development proposal, because the committee had asked for this, I now look at all committee of adjustment applications to see where we can apply the official plan policies regarding cultural heritage preservation and conservation. And at times that have resulted in actually things being changed at the site plan level, whether it be architectural details or moving of windows and things like that. And it's actually things that the committee doesn't see that often because through site plan, it's not a public process. However, we've had success working with the county and other stakeholders. However, it doesn't mean that it will change things. The zoning is something that permits the built form that is in place right now. So if we as a committee or we as staff went to a potential somebody who's looking to redevelop their property or potentially redevelop their property, and we said, well, we want you to do something else because there is a listed heritage property next door, and whatever they want to do is permitted in the zoning bylaw, then we can ask. That's about it. So I don't want to overstate the level of protection that listing a property has.
Right,
Possibly a little bit.
Kathy?
So then, if to follow up with, I think it was Sarah who asked about the heritage conservation districts. And in a previous meeting, the one that Michelle Banfield and Wendy Cook were at, Michelle mentioned that we have in planning, there is a budget to do things potentially such as that. Is that something we can look at doing for that area sooner rather than later?
Kathy, I was going to sort of pick up on that because it seems to me that if there's an area that deserves heritage designation as a district, this might be a really good candidate. So it seems to me that I wonder if we should recommend to staff a couple of things. Number one, that they look at designating this area as a historic district. And I think that, they would do a report back to us on that question. That they look at the zoning of that area, because if it's all RM2 that gives certain permissions, maybe we should be looking at changing the zoning to protect the heritage area. And I think the third request of staff or recommendation to staff is to look at what our infilling policy should be, especially in one of these areas. The difficulty that we have is that these matters are going to the Committee of Adjustment, and it's all sort of site specific, and there isn't an overall direction or policy. And it seems to me that we probably should be starting to look at something like that. And, you know, staff, I'm sure, responds to the Committee of Adjustment based on the policies that they have at their disposal. But maybe we should be, as a committee, looking at improving those policies. So, Thomas, do we need a motion to you for those recommendations, or can we just sort of say this and suggest it to planning staff that they come back to us with a report on this, so that we can really sort of sink our teeth into it, because I think rightly so, this is an area that we may want to look at in terms of designating as a historic district. All right, Craig.
I was just going to say, can we also add if there's any other parts of the city that they would also consider perhaps making into a heritage district, not only that one little area, because maybe there's other areas that would be considered as well in the city. Maybe they have some ideas of what areas, maybe more than one.
Yeah, certainly there might be some areas in Allendale, for example. Thomas.
I wasn't going to say that,
but Councillor Rima, to address your question, I think there's actually there's a two-part answer there. One being that once everyone in the committee has had a chance to look at that email, and we've sort of consolidated the feedback or any comments that the committee members have had in that letter, or in that response, we could advise the property owner that, you know, staff are being asked to look at planning tools to protect heritage in the area, and just sort of keep it light like that, or sort of open like that. But on a deeper level, and this speaks to point number 2 that I was going to make, staff would go back and actually look at those 3 items that we had mentioned. And so far, I've only managed to type out 2. There's the feasibility of establish a heritage district or districts. And then the second item was look at the zoning and to see if there's if there's any possibility of removing or lifting some permissions, specifically regarding build form that don't match the character of the area. And then the third item I missed
is infilling policy.
Infilling policies. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that third item, Councillor, is partially being addressed in our new official plan. We do have more detailed, stronger infill policies, but it doesn't really speak to the heritage district. So what I can do is I can speak to my manager, and I can speak to Michelle to see what approach we can have moving forward, and then I can report back to the committee.
Yes, I think that would be useful. On a slightly different note, the owner of this house, is he interested in having it designated?
At least listed.
I think at the time when I spoke with him, because I did speak with him on the phone a couple of times, I think he was too upset to entertain that at the moment, but we can reach out to him and invite him to do so.
That'd be great.
I think it may be worthwhile reaching out to him. Kathy.
I just wanted to mention that there is in Allendale already, there is some sort of, what is it, urban guidelines that touch around a number of the homes that fall within an area that have been identified as being, and I thought that at some point we had talked about rolling something similar to that out to all of the historic areas around the whole bay, really, because all of the original historic neighborhood strategy neighborhoods all of them have sections that really could be historic conservation districts.
Yeah.
So, and I thought that that's what we were sort of working toward in the official, even in the official plan policies, although that's sort of been delayed somewhat, Thomas, has it?
In terms of the release of the entire OP, yes, it has been. There's been some major project impacts due to COVID. So yes, there's been a delay of the release for public consultation. So it sort of happens in phases. We'd release the official plan to the public for a 90-day review. The public, stakeholders, business owners provide us comments and feedback. We would then take that back, revise the official plan, and then release it again through a public meeting, through a statutory public meeting. I don't have any updates on timing. We're working hard and hoping for September. Sorry, not September, but September to December. So basically fall of 2020 to release that for the 90-day public consultation.
Okay, thank you. I saw Sarah's hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to say about, there was a comment about making sure that we sort of expand the possible heritage district a little bit beyond like one house. So it might be, if we're looking into it, might be good to do like a whole neighborhood, especially if it's like the whole Allendale neighborhood or the downtown neighborhood. So then we're not sort of pigeonholing to one street. And within the district, you can always do levels of protection and things like that. So, it might be good to look at a wider scope at first and then pare down so we don't get to just one street and then have to do it all over again.
Yeah.
Okay. Christine?
The next street over towards Bayfield from Owen, I can't remember the name of it, but back past the library, there are some fantastic homes in there. That is definitely a heritage area that needs to be protected. So it's not just the one house, it's the whole area. There are lots of homes in that area.
Yeah, and I think that's the direction that we're sort of giving to the planning people, that they take a good hard look at, designating that area, whether it be Owen Street or some other area in that vicinity that makes sense as a historic district.
Great.
That's correct. I just wanted to echo your comments in that, I would speak to my manager and then Michelle to see what the feasibility of doing such an evaluation, or the feasibility of doing that kind of an evaluation, and then how we would go about doing it. And I agree, it would likely be more comprehensive than just, a street or a section of a street. I think it'd be much broader than that, because if we're gonna do it, it'd likely be more involved, as there's interest in Allendale and other parts of the city. So that's the way we likely go about doing it.
Great. That letter stimulated a good discussion. That's good.
All right, any more discussion on that item? No, I think that was a good discussion, and staff will get busy on those recommendations, I'm sure. All right, demolition control and archiving is the next item. Did that come from you, Thomas, or is that somebody else?
No, I think that came from one of our committee members. Deb, I think that was you who had emailed me with a question.
Right, correct. And actually, timing for this is good. Yeah, it was just a general question. I know that we're notified in the event that a designated or a registered building is going to be demolished. But there's other buildings that we probably would like to be notified about. For example, there used to be a magnificent home up at, I think it's 26 Baycrest, and just happened to be in the neighborhood the other day. It's been demolished and some new home being built there. That would have been a great property to at least photograph, because I think that's the reason we want to be in the demolition notification process is so that we have a chance to, you know, not necessarily prevent a demolition, but at least record digitally the property so that we have a record of it, just for historic purposes. So I don't know how we get in the loop to be notified when there's a demolition permit. And it wouldn't be for anything, but anything over 100 years old might be, you know, of interest to us. So I don't know if you know the house up on Baycrest that I'm talking about.
Oh,
No, I'm not familiar with it.
No,
But it's gone now, so we don't.
gone. It's just like that. Anyways, a big property up overlooking Shanty Bay Road and the bay. Big
Yeah,
wrap.
I know the one you're talking about.
Another one?
Thomas, any comment on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Deb, for bringing that up. It is something that we are discussing when writing our new official plan. Similar to the previous agenda item, I can again go back to Kathy Suggett, she's the manager of policy development at the city, and bring this item to her attention, and you know, see what I can pull out of the OP and basically bring that back to the committee for discussion. Again, just, you know, maybe we can discuss potential avenues of moving forward, how we can address that potentially in the new official plan.
I mean, we don't want to insert ourselves into the process so that we're slowing anything down or preventing anybody from doing
Right.
what they need to do, but just a heads up so that somebody can go out and photograph it would be amazing. That's it.
Yeah, like I said, there is some language in the OP that speaks to this, and you know, pending, you know, the committee's recommendation, we can go back and look at those policies and revisit them and see if we can strengthen them. And then I'm not entirely sure how much of that content I can reveal to the committee before anything goes to council. So I'll have to check in with them on that, and again, come back to the committee at the next meeting and give you an update.
Okay. Kathy?
I was just going to say, if you need us to, we can sign non-disclosure agreements.
Not sure that would work, but
Well,
I think that the other piece of it is process. You know, when a demolition permit comes into the city, somebody needs to flag it and say, oh, this is more than 100 years old. I need to get some camera out there. So not only is there a sort of a policy thing that needs to be established, but also then a process. So Thomas, yeah, if you wouldn't mind taking a look at, you know, what our current policy is and how we can maneuver this in terms of the official plan, then bring it back to us next month and see what we can develop out of it.
And it doesn't even, if it's a chore to insert, you know, that age criteria, just get us on the distribution list for everything, and we'll know just from the address whether it's, you know, something that needs to be documented.
I'm embarrassed to.
Sorry, yeah, Kathy?
I was going to say, I'm embarrassed to say this, but I do get from Chris McBride a list monthly of all the permits built, whether they're building, demolition, tear it, whatever. Because I wanted to see how we could at some point, or how we could bring it forward, and so there is a list that exists. And could they not maybe just pair that existing list and only show demolition even? And we could figure out from there what the address, based on the address, whether it's.
Yeah, if it already.
What we can do is we can ask Thomas to have a look at that and bring us back something next next meeting.
That'd be great.
Any further discussion on that one? Thank you. Status of potential listings to Municipal Heritage Register. So we've got 50 Tiffin and 151 to 161 Bradford Street. Thomas.
That's right. So we received the an application from the owners of 50 Tiffin Street.
Did you really?
We did, yeah. It just came in the mail, I think, on Thursday
Nice.
last week. So
Did you actually mail the letter out to them? Because we had talked about just prior to COVID, I think
Mhm.
at the last meeting, we were just trying to get a signature on the letter so that it could be mailed out. But
That's
then
right.
did the actual letter get mailed out to them?
yes, it did.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Councillor, the
Great.
chair went in and actually signed it for us, and then Joanne from our
Oh, cool.
office packaged it up and sent it out.
Nice.
I can assure you it was all properly distanced.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there is, as the committee knows, we now have an evaluation form for listing a property of interest on the Heritage Register. And there are a number of heritage attributes that we are supposed to check off. And I am not entirely sure how to share my screen with using Zoom. Let me try here again. I think I can do it here. Share screen.
Settings.
Share screen. Okay, I'm only going to show this. Sorry, just one moment, please. Okay, thank you for everybody's patience. So this is the evaluation form. And so I'm just going to go through this quickly and just get the committee's feedback if possible, just to fill in this form. And then we can discuss the results of our evaluation. So it doesn't really have a property name. The building is essentially a one-story single attached dwelling, and there's also a carport that is on Short Street, street address and assessment roll number. So moving on, these are the heritage attributes that so far I've been able to find that apply. I didn't really find that any of these applied, speaking to the design and physical characteristics. In doing the evaluation form, I've determined that this is actually sort of a Gothic Revival cottage / haven that was very commonly built in Ontario from the 1750s to the 1900s. So I couldn't really check off that this is a rare, unique, representative style of construction or architecture. I can't comment to the degree of craftsmanship. I don't think the degree of scientific or technical achievement applies. And without the application didn't provide a whole lot of details as to its historical or associative value. So I wasn't able to check off any of those. However, this being in Allendale, I felt that, you know, the property has contextual value because it has plays a role in maintaining the character of Allendale. So that was essentially the only one that I was able to check off. And moving on, like I said, this is Gothic Revival, in my opinion. I'm no expert on architectural design, but looking at images, this is the one that sort of felt like it was the best fit. And it was built in 1885, and the only exceptional features that was listed by the property owner was inlaid hardwood floors in the front portion of the house. And I think that was it. So I would now just leave it up to the committee to reflect on this evaluation and determine if you want to add the property to the register or not. And now I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Yeah, I have a question. Are you able to show it on Google
Google Map?
Google Map? Can you show a picture of it? I just trying to remember which place it is. Are you able
Yes,
to
I
do that
can.
for me? Oh, that'd be good.
Sort of like a little white bungalow.
Okay, just trying to think.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm now sharing my screen again, Craig.
Oh, okay, great.
So this is the home here.
Okay.
And I'm just going to give you a side view as well on Short Street.
There's a beautiful house on the end of Short Street as well.
Yeah.
It's nice.
So this is that carport. Can't get much of a view of the side.
No.
It looks like it potentially could have been built in 2 phases. The front portion being built in one time and then the rear portion being built in another.
Does it, can you look at the windows at the side? Are you able to
zoom in?
Yeah.
These ones here?
Yeah, like the side, you know, are they still the like wooden windows with the panes, or do they look like they've been changed out?
Those look like modern windows to me.
Yeah.
They look like they're changed.
Yeah. Okay. No.
Any other question? Tara?
I have a question. Sorry. The form that was put on, I didn't see any personal information, but I just want to make sure there's nothing other than the address in that form. You just have to watch.
I don't believe there was. The only thing that was
don't
the
think there
roll
was
number.
either. Okay. Which is fine too. That's public information. I just to watch when you're putting stuff up on the screen.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's good. Thanks, Tara.
No problem.
Good point.
All right. Any other discussion about this one?
You might not be able to see my hand, but
There you go.
Who wanted to? Oh, Sarah. Hello.
So for this one, if the age of the house is pretty significant, I would say, for our town. And although it's probably not unique to all of Ontario, when you're doing the representative part of that form, like the first one, it can be somewhat representative in a broader term, as in like there's not a ton of them in your city, even though there's a ton of them across Ontario, sort of thing. So I would say that I think that requirement, like the list, is also for when you're designating, where it needs to be a lot more stringent, but this one seems like a good candidate for at least listing to me anyways.
Okay, Kathy?
I just, they themselves have asked. The house is from 1885. It's in really good condition. It's not, going to fall down because it's been neglected. They're very proud owners of that home and have been very involved in when Allendale itself was thriving, and we had the grocery stores and the Webb's Jeweler and the Clifton Hotel and all of those places. That fellow that lives in that house was very involved in the Allendale BIA, if you will. He told me stories about, going door knocking and raising money for Christmas lights in the neighborhood, putting up Christmas trees, doing decorations, things like that. And they're really involved in Allendale and are very proud of Allendale. So, and I know that doesn't go on a form anywhere, but do we need to look at, I'd be happy to go online on the on land registry and see if I can pull off a little bit more detail, previous homeowners, and see if there's anything there.
Thomas, I thought you had your hand up.
And if I do, all I need is lot and plan.
Okay.
Thomas, did you want to say something?
I believe I actually forgotten. I can't remember what I was going to say. It was regarding Sarah's comment. Is it the form itself? So the form was developed by this committee to sort of help us determine which homes are going to go on in the Heritage Register. So you're correct in that it is used for the designating. So we can be a little bit more loose in our interpretation. This is our form and it's not being designated. This is just being listed. So that's all. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, and I suppose this may not be a candidate for designation, but certainly in terms of listing, I think it's got some merit. Any other discussion on it? I think if it's going to be formally listed, we probably should have a motion. So can I have a motion to list this property?
Absolutely.
It's like that, shaking your head. Yes. So
Yeah, sure. I move that we add
you're good with
certificate to the register.
okay, and seconded by Christine.
Yeah.
In favor? Anybody opposed? All right, carry.
Make it like hands or something.
I'm sorry?
Hands or something.
We had lots of hands.
Okay, there we go.
All right. All right. Then the Bradford, sorry, Christine.
I would recommend that we do not turn down any house that wants to be listed. We'll take anything on the list.
All right, Kathy.
So how much, I know we're going to talk about Bradford Street in a moment, but how much information, Thomas, do we need to provide to council on this? Do we need to provide as much information as, like Bradford Street came back to us because we really hadn't done any kind of homework. And
Right.
so it came back to us. And also because the city actually owns those properties. Whereas here, because the owner has asked to be listed, is there anything else that we need to provide to, make sure that it gets approved?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think in this case, we have the owner requesting listing, so I don't think we have to provide anything more to council. I think you're right on the Bradford Street properties, because council, the city-owned property, and council did send it back to us. I think we need to do some more work on that. Sarah, I think you had your hand up. There you go.
I was just knocking about. I didn't have my hand up, sorry.
All right. So let's move on then to the Bradford Street properties, the three of them. Any discussion on that? The city, we recommended that they be listed. The city reacted to that, saying we own these properties and we intend for them to be demolished as part of sewage treatment plant expansion someday in the future, not right away. And so they asked the Heritage Committee to have another look at it. I recall just before COVID, somebody asked, we want to do some work on it and we need to have the lot and plan number. And I was going to go to the clerk's office to get that for you, but of course I couldn't. Was it Kaylee or was it Sarah? I don't recall who asked for that information. Maybe Sarah, or maybe
I did.
somebody else.
I did.
I'm just wondering, Thomas, is that something we could ask you to do, to go into the assessment role and just get the lot and plan number for each of those properties?
That's correct, Councillor. Yes. So Kathy and I were emailing back and forth, and I believe I provided you with all the information you were looking for, Kathy,
Right.
in that regard. And I just want to circle back just quickly on the actual motions. So there's two motions that were passed by the General Committee about this. The first one was that staff in the Development Services Department review the addition of the city-owned properties. Something is happening. Can everybody still hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Apologize for that. So that's a staff task. And then the other one is that Heritage Barrie Committee, we request to provide a memo concerning the committee's rationale for adding the properties. So Kathy is working on that second motion I just read. I am working on a review, and like where I'm doing that Development Services Department review of those properties. And this was passed back in April, and we were pretty much at the height of COVID at that point. And there's been some delays in doing that work. Specifically, there's been some staff reassignment. Buildings have been closed down, and we haven't been able to make much progress on this. However, I was just speaking with somebody from the Water Services Division just last week. So we're picking that ball up again and doing that review. So I don't have anything for the committee at this moment in time, other than we're doing the work right now. And I suggest that, Kathy, whenever you have something put together, that we coordinate when things move forward, so that
Right, and I actually did, Thomas did provide me with the lot and plan information of these three properties, and I did look up the information online, because you can look that up, and it just shows the area, the age of who owned the properties through the years. So we do have that information. And then the second place I was going to go look, I need to look at a directory in the library, and it's not one that I asked them if they could send me stuff virtually, but it's a directory that they don't allow you to take out of the library. But thankfully, the library opened today. So I'll be able to go and have a look in the library at the Vernon directory for the earliest year that we have, which will also tell us who in 1927 lived in those properties, just to see if there's any name that sticks out that's important. And also, I think I'll look to 1934 or 35 because Thomas, I think I sent you a picture of a grocer. It was J.R. Grocer at one point. No, J.R. Guest, who was a grocer who lived there. And so there is sort of cultural value in that. Really, those buildings were a part of Allendale round to Bradford and the Midway Diner. And the Midway Diner is one of those properties. And actually, during COVID, the fellow fixed up the Midway Diner. So he's done a total refresh on the inside and fixed up the porch, the front porch area, because it was in need of repair. So I do have to get a bit more work on that done.
Okay, Christine. Christine?
I'm going to throw a monkey wrench in here. The city owns 2 of the 3 buildings. Now, the diner is owned and it's a separate building, correct?
No,
The
Oh,
diner is
okay.
a part of one of them?
the
It's
diner
owned
is
by the city.
it's owned by the city. The building itself is
Oh,
owned by the
okay,
city.
all right.
The Midway Diner is the business.
Because basically the city is saying their intention is to tear those buildings down when they expand. For us to be pushing, trying to have these properties designated is sort of like bashing our heads against city. And I don't think that's something that we should be doing. I would love to see the diner somehow protected, but again, he doesn't own the building. It's the restaurant itself that has all the history.
Right.
I don't know. I think we're really pushing something that we shouldn't be by designating these properties or having them listed, getting the city to do that, because they've made it clear their intention is at some point down the road, as the city grows, which it is, they're going to have to expand.
Okay, Sarah.
Sorry, get on mute here. Perhaps to play devil's advocate, if we don't push back on the city, are they now then just going to get the idea that basically any building that they want to demolish in the city, they can at any point and nobody's going to object to it? Like, it does seem like it's going to be an uphill battle and perhaps we won't win it, but
these
maybe it's
buildings
worth doing still.
Yeah, but Sarah, if you look at where the buildings are, I mean, they're right next to the pollution control center. I mean, they're not in a historic neighborhood or anything like that. They're 3 houses by themselves in an industrial area.
Right, Sarah?
Yeah, I totally understand that. And I totally understand that it probably is going to be demolished because that's the way that the plant needs to be expanded. But it's, I guess, along the same lines of if we stop pushing for buildings on the lakeshore to not be so tall and we let it happen, then it's just a cascading effect. This may not be one that we're going to win, but if you stand up and say we need to protect whatever heritage, wherever it is, doesn't matter if it's in a specific neighborhood or not, is that a worthy fight, I suppose.
Okay. Thank you. Deb?
I was just going to add that I appreciate the nostalgic value of that building on the corner, the Midway, but when just looking at the street view of it, there's very little architectural value in terms of, you know, like most of the original features are all gone. But I also agree with Sarah that, you know, we do at times need to take the hard line because things are just going to get bulldozed. And,
Right.
what's our purpose, if we're not going to advocate for, the good projects.
Mhm. Okay, any other discussion? Kathy?
And maybe once Thomas comes back with whatever he's working on, we'll have a clearer idea if we want to go forward with it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Thomas, what's your timing on coming back to us? And I guess the same question to Kathy.
I guess I can go first. We're thinking October for the October meeting. At least I would come back and give the committee an update. I don't think I'd have any information even for an update by our September meeting, if we do have one in September, which would be in like 2 weeks from now. So likely at least an update from me in October, and I could probably give a better ETA in terms of a report at that point.
All right. Just my thinking on this is that I think we ought to let kind of the facts make our decision for us. If these buildings have historic value, then I think we should be pushing for the city to retain them. I think that for many people, certainly the diner has a great amount of nostalgia, if not historic value. I don't expect that they would ever expand the sewage treatment plant with all its attendant odors and everything else right out to the street. It seems to me that sort of the workings of the plant would be further removed and not so close to the street. So one of my thoughts is that perhaps the city could consider repurposing those buildings and turn them into office space or whatever it is that they need. And so it may be useful, Thomas, for you to have a discussion with the water treatment people to see what in fact are their plans and how firm are they, and are there some alternatives. So I guess the answer for tonight is stay tuned. We'll hear from Thomas and from Kathy, either an update next meeting or in October. But I'm certainly, I think the facts ought to speak for themselves. And if those facts are strong enough, then I think, if the city's not going to protect its own heritage buildings that it owns, how can it expect anybody else to do that? So let's get our facts together first, and then we'll take it from there. All right. Any other discussion as a result of my comments? No, thanks. All right. So the Municipal Heritage Register update. Thomas, I think that's probably from you. Yep.
Sorry, that's correct. That's me. So just a quick update to the committee that I'm just working on updating the actual document itself to include all our most recent additions. I will try to get 50 Tiffin Street in there as well, and post that on the website, because I don't think it's been updated since September 2019. So it's basically an annual update. So it'll have all that content in the actual PDF that's on a web page, and we're also going to update these storyboards that are on Discover Barrie, which is our new GIS portal for the public.
Okay, thank you. Any question? Oh, Sarah?
Yeah, I was just going to say, are you going to try to, this is where I asked about the Barrie Heritage Awards, where you had in the past, we used to have the picture of all the buildings that won or the individuals. Because I was thinking about nominating or nominations for this next one, and because I don't have the pictures, sometimes I'm not sure which building it is, especially like the churches and things like that. I also think it'd be good to have the pictures because then people could see who's winning and all that sort of things. Right now, it's just the address.
We used to always have the pictures on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's gone, and I think we should bring it back.
Awesome.
Sorry, I think I had my hand up after Sarah.
Oh,
I know you did, but I think you were going to just respond to Craig, right? And
I
I'm
did, yeah.
Sarah, so you could, I'll get
Okay.
you.
Okay. Yeah, Craig. So I believe a little while back, we were updating our website. We were talking to our IT department. The committee had actually asked for like a scrolling slideshow, basically, of all the Heritage Award winners. And IT said no. For some technical reasons, I still don't understand, but they said no. And they said that they were going to post this list. I think we can update that list to include not just the address, but actually the images as well.
that'd be good.
Going back as far as I can. I think we'll probably only have accurate pictures up to 2017 or 2015 or so. I have to do some digging, but last year's 2018 is obvious. That's when I've been around, but anything that I haven't been around, I have to do some digging to get the correct pictures.
Okay, Sarah.
I actually have my hand up for Kaylee, so.
Oh.
Yeah, thank you.
Kaylee.
I was just gonna say if the list is being updated, we had talked earlier about maybe putting some sort of icon or something for any of the places that have already won one of the awards. So you can easily recognize, like if people are looking in that paper book or online, and then that way we can also keep track that way if that's something that could be added while you're already doing updates anyways.
Yeah, I can do that. I'll make it look like a little ribbon or something and say 2019 Heritage Award winner or something like that.
Perfect.
All right. Well, I guess we can have Kaylee talk to Thomas and just to make sure that this gets done properly. Christine.
Thomas, when you're updating the website, are you going to be updating the map of the historic neighborhoods to include the two new ones? i.e. East End, historic East End, and Kempenfelt Village.
So the updating of that web page will that map will actually happen in the new official plan. If we update it as it is now, there's no associating sort of decision or endorsement by council to do that. So the
Council
update
passed the adoption of those two neighborhoods. It was passed by council.
You know, Christine, you have told me a number of times, but I've looked in all of our council motions and everything like that, and I haven't been able to find anything that added those two or said that those are the two official ones. The only thing that I found is that big paper map that I showed you a while back.
The one that put the proposal forward was Bonnie Ainsworth.
Okay.
Claire, you were at the meeting.
You know, I don't have a recollection of it, but
Bonnie Ainsworth made the motion to add those two to the historic neighborhoods. And there was a discussion and Jeff did a lot of talking on it and it was passed.
Okay, so
Sorry. I can do a little bit more background with all the motions and stuff if you like. It's pretty.
Okay, I think that's a good suggestion that Tara looks into the background of it and then we can figure this one out. Because I know we've talked about it more often, that's for sure. All right, anything more on that item? Okay, heritage plaques, expenses and site selection. Craig, I think.
Yes, well,
for a minute.
Yeah, I Thomas asked me to just, well, I emailed you guys and just said maybe we should think about doing some plaques because otherwise we'll run out of time. And so then Thomas suggested I contact Owen Signcraft, who already did a budget. And then I emailed everybody the price that they have, which actually came down a little bit. And I think we just have to determine, are we going to do it? and how many and where are they going to go? And I don't know. We need to. If we're going to do it, we should do it.
I guess those are three really good questions. Are we going to do it? And then if so, how many? And if so, where?
Yeah.
Any discussion? Sarah?
I would say as to where, I would maybe suggest that we start with the fully designated properties, because
Mhm.
they're the ones least likely to change and probably the most distinguished in our community.
Okay. Kathy?
I was going to say the same, or do we want to, and do we want to look at the ones that were designated first? So the ones, you know, wherever the bylaw is the oldest bylaw, go back to, and would we be sending a letter out to the homeowner asking if they would accept a plaque on their property?
Yes, that's a good question.
And then do we want to do all designated, or do we want to do 6 designated and 4 listed? Like how much money can we spend?
Yes, and I guess that is the first question. Thomas, do you know off the top how much money we have to spend on these things?
In the budget.
There. Yes, so that was actually, it sort of bleeds into our next point being the budget update. And I do have a snapshot here from Tara who just sent me that. Just one moment, please. Okay, so the committee's expenses are sort of broken down by, not entirely sure how to describe it, just these blocks of funds. The largest of which is consultants general. We have the next one would be awards and ceremony expenses, which is about $2,000. And the general consulting budget was $5,000. So between those two, there's about $7,300 we could spend on plaques. I just want to caution that amount. I think there is potential clawback to some of that funding due to the COVID situation. Not entirely sure how that would play out. Like,
Wait, didn't we?
Sorry, Kathy. Yes.
Didn't we just get $9 million from the federal government? Maybe they could funnel a little bit of that money to the heritage budget. What do you think, Claire?
We got that money, but it wasn't for heritage, sorry.
Yeah.
Nice try.
Yeah. And I mean, we still need a few dollars in case we, for the awards and that kind of thing as well. So it seems to me that, we probably should be looking in the area of maybe $3,000 or $4,000, that kind of thing. Christine.
Because we don't have a lot of money to spend, the listed plaques are less expensive than the designated ones. And a lot of the designated homes the older ones already have a type of plaque. I would recommend that we go with the listed and do the more recent ones, and perhaps that will encourage more people to look at listing. I think our money will go a little bit further. It'll be a little more showy, and we might get more people interested by doing that.
Okay.
Interesting.
Any other comments?
I have a question. You saw the budget. So the aluminum pricing is for the listed and the bronze is for the designated. Which one are we thinking? The 10 by 10s? And then would it be cast or the CNC? Because there is a difference in price. Does everyone have, I sent everybody the amount of
Yeah.
money.
And I guess my question was, what did we agree to previously?
I think we agreed that we would do the bronze for the designated and the
Right.
aluminum for the listed.
Cast aluminum for the listed,
Yeah,
yes.
and I think it's about a $50 difference between CNC, and I asked them today what CNC is, but they didn't get back to me. This must be like a coating versus a cast. So I think, I don't know, maybe go for the cast. It's not that much more, and it's maybe more durable. And
Thomas?
do we do 10 by 10 or 9 by 12?
Thomas.
Craig,
Yeah.
to answer your question, and also Councillor Remo, what you had asked as well, I will go back and look at what motion was approved by council, because the committee did pass a recommendation that was approved. I don't recall if there was a number attached to that. I think it was just the type or the style of which, and I think it was cast, because the cast has a bit of a more rustic look to it.
Yeah.
Whereas the CNC, I think it's just a piece of metal, and they sort of drill into it, and it looks much more modern. So I think the cast ones is where they pour it into a mold.
Aluminum.
Yeah, and we would do the 10 by 10, I would think. Yes, just so I'm just getting a price now. So
Did we want to do a square or an oval?
well, it's round or oval. There's just two choices. There's no square.
The old ones were oval. So
Okay.
yeah,
it'd be worth just sticking with that.
Yes.
Sarah, you had your hand up.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna give a little of what a CNC machine is and what it does, but we've already covered it, so we're all set.
perfect. Thank you.
All right, thanks anyway. All right, Thomas will check to see what we agreed to before, but it seems to me like we're looking at doing the oval 10 by 10, well, no, 9 by 12 rather.
Yeah. Aluminum.
And I guess, any comments on who should we do? Christine's suggestion is that our money might go a little further if we do the listed ones rather than the designated ones. Any thoughts on that? Kathy?
I think if we could even do, depending on how many we can get, if we could do even half and half, because I think designated, people went to a lot of time and effort to get the designation on their house to begin with. So there was much more work that was put into that effort. And so I think we should start to recognize those sooner rather than later, but also, so then maybe we do like 4 designated and 4 listed, or whatever the magic number will come up to. I think, I really think that the designated properties, and I know that maybe it's going to cost a little more for those, but money was put into actually having to do that.
I agree.
Yeah.
I would prioritize by designated first and then listed. And that's assuming that the homeowner
Even
will
want
allow
them.
it to put it on the house. But that's how I would prioritize.
Yeah.
Sarah?
This may be a side comment about the listed. I know in other cities, if you are just listed, you pay half the cost if you want the sign on your house. So that would also help our funds go a little further if we approach them and offer to pay half of the cost of it. They still get a nice plaque, and it recognizes that they have decided to get listed. I do know that there's some of the designated that already have plaques, so those ones we can leave until the end and start with designated ones that don't have plaques. I do think that the designated, they have, like Kat said, put a lot of effort into getting them designated. And then I think at a previous meeting, we had discussed the thought of if your house wins a heritage award, that would be something where we provide the plaque to you if you win the award. I don't know if we're still thinking that could be a thing or not, but thought I'd mention it again.
That's a great idea.
Okay, any further discussion? All right. I'm thinking that we should look at spending something like $3,500 or $4,000. Is that, how's that sort of feel around the committee? Is that something reasonable that?
Yeah.
Kathy?
Well, I think that's reasonable. But what I wanted to mention was in the budget, or in the memo that the sign, Owen Signs had sent, it doesn't look like they've included the taxes and or the install.
That's correct.
So we need to keep that in mind.
Yeah, and it's my suggestion, and I think we may, because we're spending money, we may need a motion on this. And my suggestion on this is that we would authorize staff to spend up to $4,000 to purchase and install plaques on designated homes. Yeah, based on our quotes that we have, and we get as many plaques as we can for $4,000. Tara?
You don't need a motion because you're all the committee agrees to spend a certain amount of money towards that, and that'll be noted in the minutes.
Okay.
The money's already approved for your budget. It's just where you're spending it.
Okay.
Let's spend it before they claw it back.
That's right.
There'll be some clawing back, you watch. All right, do we have a consensus around the committee for that kind of direction,
Yeah.
staff?
I think so.
Good. All right. Thomas.
I just have a question, just to circle back on the discussion. So the committee has decided to stick with the same design of oval plaques, and we're going to focus on designated properties, and they're going to have the cast bronze plaques. We're going to send letters to confirm that the property owners do indeed want the plaques. And the committee is going to approve staff to spend up to $4,000 getting those plaques. And then the other thing is, what do we want the plaques to say? That was a big discussion item last time we talked about this, and I don't think we reached a consensus.
Oh, we didn't.
Yeah, no, I don't think we did.
Yeah. I'm just looking at, oh, sorry.
Kathy. I'm gonna get you trained. Yeah, absolutely.
Never.
Go ahead, Kathy.
I'm just looking at, actually, I had photos of what's on the Gray and Simcoe Forester building. And I'm looking at them, and the one that's the oval plaque, right now, it just says Heritage Building, City of Barrie, and it's got the people are the city, and it's got the crest on it. So that really just recognizes it as a heritage building by the City of Barrie. And then the other one, the Gray Simcoe Foresters must have done in recognition of 125 years. And then it had a date, 1866 to 1991. So I don't know if we want to put years on, and do we actually know, in fact, the year that a designated house was built? Because I think in some cases it's like around 1850 to 1852, as opposed to actually knowing.
Craig.
I was just going to say that Thomas, we had remember we brought to the meeting, the one that was somewhere in the office, and I thought we said we wanted to go with that very similar to that. It was pretty simplistic. And the other thing about the date, I've done plaques in Allendale, and I've had people, oh, it was actually this date, and then you get people, finding out there was something wrong, and then you got this plaque that's, maybe there's something wrong on it. So I think you might want to just, have City of Barrie. I thought we were going to do the crest or something on it.
Yeah, that's what.
A heritage building or something not too complicated. That was what I thought we decided.
All right. I've got Sarah, Deb, and then Christine, and then Thomas. Sarah.
Yeah, I thought we had at some point found one that was with the city crest on it. I don't have the budget in front of me right now, but Craig, is there a different cost for each casting, or is it included in it?
There's a file setup is $120 design. So I think that's for all of them. And then I guess they probably have that design, and then they can just do it for all of them. So there is a cost of $120 to set it up. And then for the actual cast, it's $600 for bronze, and it's $341 for the aluminum.
So yeah, so it might be a touch more efficient of our money if we only make one cast for the designated, one cast for the listed. We could do sort of an addition as we go along if we get any more money, add a plaque that says circa 1850 or whatever for the designated ones, because in the bylaw I think it has to mention the age if it knows it. But yeah, it might be a bit more efficient of funds if it was a single casting for each.
Deb?
Christine, you go first. I'm still formulating my thought.
All right, Christine.
I think what you need to realize is when it's cast, it's a mold. So every time you change something, it's a different mold. If you add a date, it's a different mold, and therefore it's an expense. What we should be looking at is one standard plaque that would do for all of the houses. If there was something very special about a house, that it was 250 years old or was special, i.e. who lived in it, then that might require a separate square plaque information. But I think if you're going to do the bronze cast, you need to keep it one design that will fit all the houses. Otherwise, you're into a different price for every single one if you start adding the date of the house.
Okay. How about your thoughts now, Deb? Are they formulated?
No, carry on, Kathy. I'm still
Debating? Okay.
Now you made me forget. Oh, I know what it was. Thomas, the plaque that we have that has been previously molded, did the city not do that themselves at some point?
Yes, I think we did. I mean, it doesn't have, I don't think it has a date on it. It just has City of Barrie Heritage Building. So it's City of Barrie Crest Heritage Building, and it doesn't have a date on it. And I was going to say, I think the last time we spoke about this, I think I had recommended that we just follow the same format.
Right.
But there was still discussion around, do we want to put dates or not dates?
Right.
And I think we ran out of time last time we talked about this. So that's why I wanted to bring it up and get the committee to consensus around this, so we can go and actually see what the costs are for doing the basic design.
Mm-hmm.
Kathy?
So I think I agree with Sarah in that the homes that are designated in the bylaw, if we know the circa, I think if it's just circa 1850 or circa 1900, or that, I think on the designated properties, we should be looking at adding that.
Okay.
All right. Any further discussion? All right, do we,
Oh, wait, one other thing, sorry.
Craig?
Does that mean, so if it's $120 to set up the mold, then every time you put a date on it, it's probably gonna be another $120 each time, because as Christine said, it's a different mold. So I just wonder if that's gonna make the cost really higher, a lot higher. That's the only problem with the date.
I think we need to check that out.
Yeah, I'll call him tomorrow and ask.
All right. I mean, I think the sign is just as strong if we have heritage building, City of Barrie on it. I don't know that, I mean, the date is of interest, of course, but I don't think it really is absolutely necessary to have it on the sign. I think the plaque speaks for itself. And if it says heritage building, I think that probably covers what we want it to cover. Thomas, I think I had your hand.
I don't think I have anything to add. Just to confirm that, I mean, at this point, as the committee had approved or committed to spending around $4,000, Craig and I can speak to Owen Signcraft and see if it is another $120 for adding that circa for each one. Because Craig, I think last time we had talked about this, you said that the file setup was a one-time charge, and as long as we keep it generally the same, you know, if it says 1855 or 1859 or whatever, they're just changing 2 characters. They don't have to do a whole new template. So I guess we can just confirm that and circle back with the committee electronically.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, great.
Sarah.
I'm for Kaylee again.
Oh,
I was just gonna say, oh, not there. Can you hear me now? Oh, it's not on.
No, I can hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay, it's not lighting up. I was just gonna say that the dates could be something interesting, especially if there's visitors to the city or people on walking tours, and if they're on the walking tour brochures, it'd be something that would sort of stand out on the house, so people get a little bit more information. And I think that the plaques from the designated and the listed should be different, maybe not just the metal, because it will also show, you know, they're a bit more in a maybe prestigious, they're more protected. People sort of put more work into it, have more, you know, they're here to stay. They're not like the listed ones where tomorrow they could come off the list and people could sell them.
okay. Any more? Christine.
Let's get the prices and then we'll make the decision.
All right. Well, you know, it looks like, you know, we're going to be in the range of $500 or $600 each. So it looks like we probably have enough money in our budget to do 6 of them. And let's we'll have Thomas check with the sign maker about the setup fee. If the setup fee is only a one-time charge, are we good with putting the date on it, or the circa date?
Yeah.
Like the date.
Yeah.
I like
Okay.
the date.
All right. Staff needs that direction. Kathy.
And the other thing that I wondered is there's also a volume discount. I think it's 10 or more. There's a volume discount. Do we know what that discount is?
No, I don't know.
It just like it's just a volume discount because
Oh, I see that. Yeah, that's right.
We may not have enough money to have a volume.
no, but if the volume discount was, you know, fairly substantial, then maybe we should look at doing a mix of designated and listed. So the cast and the aluminum, so that we could get more
Bang for our buck.
bang for our buck with the volume discount. I don't know, just throwing it out there.
Sarah?
Along that same lines, but this may be for our next subject about the budget update. Because we are COVID and we're doing things virtually, is there money in our budget that was originally for an in-person thing that we can no longer do? Is there a way to cycle those funds into a project like this so that it's not wasted? Like, did we put any aside for any of the summer celebration days and we haven't used it and it's gone now, so we can use it somewhere else?
Okay, Thomas.
That's a good point, Sarah. That's what I had brought it up earlier on in a discussion, that we have around, I think, $2,300 or so set aside for award and ceremony expenses. The photographs I know are around $500. If there's 5 awards, they usually charge us $100 to go out there, take a picture, and then print a picture for each one. So we would need, only about 1,700 or so. Or sorry, that leaves 1,700 or so available if we don't have an in-person ceremony, which we usually had costs for food and other things. So if the committee wants to transfer some of that money or use it, that is an option.
Thomas, how much did we have in our budget for plaques?
So we don't have an item for plaques per se. So how about I just read the list off for everybody? So we had meetings and meal expenses, $120. Awards and ceremony expenses, $23.50. Conferences and trade show registrations, $1,500. Memberships and subscriptions, $100. Consultants dash general, $5,000. Contracted services, general, $7,000. And it doesn't mean that we have to spend, if we go out, everybody goes out to a meeting and we all have to buy a meal and we all have $120. I think there's some movement. Tara, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's some movement to take from one account or another as needed. So the committee's not, pigeonholed into spending money on those items per se.
Yeah. I guess I'm just concerned about, the potential for some clawback as well. So we have to keep that in mind. Now, let me ask this question. Are we going to be in a position to place an order between now and our next meeting? Or I think our next meeting is scheduled now for September the 9th, which is 2 or 3 weeks, 3 weeks away. Is it maybe the better view to just ask Thomas to put together, what this looks like for our next meeting? That way we'll know whether there's a setup fee for each one or not. Would you be able to, because it seems to me that, if we order them on September the 10th, we still have to get the people's approval as well. So we could, in fact, even send out the letters asking people for their approval and then work this out and, just have 1 or 2 that we might not ask yet. So is that a reasonable suggestion on this one, that Thomas just work out the details and then bring back a recommendation to us on September the 9th? Make sense? Okay, we'll do that.
Beautiful.
And then our last item is our budget update. We probably did most of that already, but let's, any more discussion on that, Thomas?
I don't have anything else to add. Unfortunately, I don't have any details as to what the financial impacts on the committee will be due to COVID. As you suggested, Councillor, there may be some clawbacks, some sort of prorating because the committee hasn't been active for a certain amount of time. They'll use some sort of formula to determine how much money they're going to siphon out of our account type thing. And I don't want to overstate or /understate. I'm just unfortunately not fully informed at this point. but just wanted to make the committee aware that there's potential for that.
Kathy, I thought I saw your hand.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, so if I understood as you were reading through your line items, Thomas,
Mhm.
the $1,500, what was that for again? Right.
See here, sorry, I just closed it.
Oh, sorry.
No problem, just one moment. So $1,500 was for conferences and trade show registrations.
Okay, which we could transfer that 1,500 potentially?
Potentially, yeah. There was a conference actually scheduled for Ontario Heritage Professionals Association. They were supposed to have one this year, but again, due to COVID, I think that was canceled.
And then the 2,350 was for what? I'm just trying to figure out how much could actually be transferred.
For the awards,
under-
essentially.
Sorry,
Awards and ceremony expenses, that's $2,350.
Okay, so we could actually transfer that as well?
No,
Correct.
Not all of it. 'cause
Well,
we're gonna
not
get
all of it,
60.
yeah.
No, but I think you said maybe 1,700, we would have about 1,700 remaining,
Yes.
1,700 and then 1,500.
Cause
And then,
yeah.
Okay, so that's like another $3,000 potentially.
Well, our
Potentially.
total budget,
Potentially.
our total budget is 7,600. And if we, save some for the rest of the year, let's say we're down to 6,000. And if, we get some clawback, it seems to me that putting a number of about $4,000 on the plaques is probably a reasonably sensible number. Thomas.
I just wanted to bring up a point I made a little earlier regarding Doors Open and Culture Days. I mentioned that we're looking at, our city staff are looking at potentially buying some sort of a tour of the downtown, either done by Steve Travers or Town Crier, either an audio recording or a video recording of him doing one of his tours, maybe with not all the I'm not sure how to describe with all the enthusiasm, maybe it'll be a sort of a shortened version, so people still have to see his go to his tours to actually experience the real thing, but maybe like a highlight clip or something. And we're looking at potentially purchasing of that, and that would probably come out of the committee's fund budget for that, and that would be the part of the initiative to support Doors Open or Culture Days. We would use it for both, actually. So,
Okay.
I guess the other question that I have is, Thomas, have you heard anything about our budget request for next year?
I have not. No, there's been no request through me yet.
Total silence. Okay.
Mhm.
Councillor,
All right.
I suspect you might know more about that than I do.
I'm afraid I am no closer to the gods than you are. All right. Any further discussion about the budget? Because okay, Christine? Yeah.
our total budget is 7,600. Take 2,000 off for awards. That brings us down to 56. If we get requests like we did last year from the town crier, et cetera, I think we're being wise at keeping it around about the 4,000 mark and giving us that cushion for other things. We don't know what's going to happen as far as the awards ceremony, if we're going to have a get together, if it's going to be in council. Council does meet, so I don't know. But I think we need to keep that money just in case. And then if we don't use it, we can put in another order after, especially if we know what our budget is next year.
Okay. Kathy, did you want to say something?
I was just going to say, at this point, and Claire, maybe you can answer this. Council has been meeting, but they're doing the same as we're doing now. They're doing the Zoom meetings. They're not in-person meetings. There's very few staff still at City Hall. And the only department that's open is Service, Barrie, by appointment only. So I mean, would people even want to come? People are still not comfortable going out to restaurants, sending their kids back to school. So is the reality that we're not really going to have something in council in November even?
Yeah.
Throwing that out there.
My crystal ball has gotten very cloudy, so I don't really know.
Yeah.
But I suspect that you're probably right. Thomas?
I would just, I would agree with that. I don't think there will be heritage awards in this same sense. I don't think council's going to meet in person until December, until after December. Again, I have to apologize for the uncertainty, but we just don't know what is going to happen when kids start going back to school. Is there going to be this second wave that people keep talking about, or if it's just speculation at this point? But I think it'd be safe to assume that if we do the Heritage Award, it'll be
Virtual.
It'll be me giving the plaque or the actual the picture to the property owner from a distance or something like that. Like it's not going to be the same thing.
Yeah.
Or I was just going to say, we're not going to get to it right now, but I think it was somebody had the idea of maybe the ward councillor giving the Heritage Award to whoever the property that's in their ward, and maybe they could do that virtually. I mean, I know I'm just thinking ahead. That might be really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out
like
something,
that.
I'm sure. Sarah?
Yeah, it does seem like some of that money that was set aside for mingling time and the food and whatnot, like even if we do have an in-person, they give over the plaque or whatever we have the picture, we're probably not going to have that mingle time, so we can go ahead and think of that as gone. Even if we do come in person, we're probably not going to want to share finger foods.
Yeah.
And I suppose, I mean, Thomas is going to come back to us in 3 weeks with some thoughts in the proposal in terms of how we're going to spend our money. He may just come back to us and say, I'm recommending, these many plaques at something more than 4,000 or around there, or we'll complete that discussion when we have some more information.
Awesome.
Kathy?
I just had, so if the culture department decides to pull from our budget, Thomas, for the video of Steve Travers might do, will it come back to our group for our approval? Or are you just going to take the money out of the budget? Like, how will we know that the money's coming out of the budget?
I think I'd be going back to the committee to for the committee to give consent to spend those funds. Because I think, again, Tara, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think council had given that money to this committee to spend. I don't think an external department or group can do that unless it is the treasurer themselves.
Don't they have their own budget?
Yeah, they have a bigger budget than we do.
Yeah, they should pay for it.
All right. Anything further on this item? Okay. So that brings us to the end of our meeting.
Nice.
So thank you very much, Kathy.
I just, I sent a notice into Service Barrie today on one of the historic street signs is missing at Bradford and John Street. I'm thinking probably some guy named John took it. But I've sent it in, requesting a replacement, but I don't know, does that come back to you, Thomas, at any point because it's historic neighborhood signage?
No, that would go to our signage / traffic division. They look after those signs.
Okay.
So if something is damaged by a snowplow or whatever, they just take care of that automatically.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I think that brings us to the end. Thank you very much. We are adjourned. We'll see
So our
you.
next meeting is September the 9th
I
and it's going
believe
to
that
be-
is the date. Yes.
by a conference.
Yes, it'll
Yes,
be
Zooming.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thanks and good night, everybody.
Bye,
Good night.
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good
Night.
meeting. Thanks.
Aye.
Bye.